morning and a very warm welcome. You are watching Janata Television and this is English Bulletin. With me, it's Sabha Drive. The top stories first. Election Commission sends separate letters to the warring sides of the ruling party, tells dissident leaders of NCP to furnish evidences for making claims. Nepali Congress announces second phase of protest, clarifies that the party is not divided over the protest programs. Government fails to meet the target of welcoming 2 million tourists. Arrival of tourists declined by 80% in 2020. Niger village attacks kills 100 Islamic militants suspected behind the attacks. And Bayern Munich retains its position in the top Bundesliga. Defeat Mainz with 5 second-half goals. And now, the news in detail. The Election Commission has sent separate letters to the warring factions of Nepal Communist Party in a bid to resolve the party's dispute. The letter sent to the faction led by Poush Dahal and Madhav Kumar Nepal has given a 7-day deadline for clarification, while the faction led by Prime Minister KP Oli has just been notified about the latest developments. In its letter, the Election Commission has asked the Dahal Nepal faction to present its credentials related to the party's name, symbol and flag if there is any dispute within 30 days. The letter also mentions that the dissident factions need the signature of 40% of the Central Committee members of the party to make their claim. On the other hand, the Election Commission has just informed the Oli faction about the latest situation. The Office of the President, Prime Minister and the Parliament Secretariat have submitted written statements to the Supreme Court regarding the dissolution of the Lower House. The Office of the President and the Prime Minister submitted their written statements to the Constitutional Bench of the Supreme Court, citing the reasons behind the dissolution of Lower House via the Office of the Attorney General. Dr. Hari Baral submitted the written statement on behalf of the President's office, while the Office of the Prime Minister made 15 points clarification. Supreme Court had issued a show cause order in the name of President and Prime Minister's office on December 25 last month. The Supreme Court had also demanded the assistance of 5 amicus curiae to shed light on the matter of the fact and law. Nepal Bar Association has selected Badri Bahadur Karki, Vijay Kanta Mainali and Satish Krishna Kharel as the amicus curiae to the court, while the Supreme Court Bar selected Chairman Purnaman Sakya and Khagendra Prasad Adhikari as amicus curiae to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court will be conducting continuous hearing on the writ petition against the dissolution of Lower House starting from January 6 this Wednesday. In other news, Nepali Congress has announced the second phase of protest against the government's decision to dissolve the Lower House. The main opposition party announced fresh protest programs, stating that they had never agreed to the latest move of the government. Nepali Congress joined by the fray against the government after widespread criticism from all quarters. Congress leaders were reportedly divided on whether to oppose the government or to accept the midterm election. A meeting of the Central Committee of Nepali Congress unveiled the protest programs yesterday. The main opposition party has decided to hold mass protest in all 330 constituencies of the Provincial Assembly on January 9. Similarly, the NC will be organising mass protest at the municipalities and rural municipalities on January 16, followed by protest on the ward level on January 21st. The NC has also instructed the sister organizations and district committees to conduct protest programs without coinciding them with the main protest. Meanwhile, Nepali Congress also clarified that there isn't any internal dispute among the leaders of the main opposition party regarding the protest program. This is Janata Bulletin. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back after the break. We continue with other national news. Coronavirus has claimed 8 more lives in the country, taking the death toll to 1,878. The government yesterday confirmed 421 new cases of coronavirus across the country. Following the latest round of tests, the total cases of coronavirus in the country have climbed to 261,859, while the number of active cases has dropped to 5,487 from the overnight tally of 5,711. According to the Ministry of Health and Population, altogether 254,494 infected persons have recovered from the disease in the country so far. Nepal is currently among the top 40 countries that have been most affected by the pandemic. The US tops the list with 21.11 million confirmed cases, followed by India with 10.34 million cases. Coronavirus has infected more than 85.48 million people across the world and claimed 1.85 million lives. Schools and educational institutions shut due to coronavirus pandemic since last March will be shortly reopening. The COVID-19 Crisis Management Center Committee has decided to open the schools and all other sectors that remained closed due to the pandemic. CCMC has also delegated the power to shut down schools, cinema halls, gym and fitness centers, including others, to the District COVID-19 Crisis Management Center as per the requirement. The CCMC meeting has decided to send a proposal to the Cabinet to open all sectors closed due to coronavirus pandemic, with the power being delegated to the District COVID-19 Crisis Management Committee to shut them again if required. The CCMC meeting has also decided to take extra consideration to prevent the possible outbreak of a new strain of the virus. People found without mask or violating the health protocols will be punished, CCMC meeting concluded.
कोभिडको संक्रमण कम भएको र बजारमा भिडभाड बढ्ने बढी भएको र कोभिड छैन जस्तो ठानेर स्वतन्त्र रूपमा हिँड्ने गरेको अवस्था देखिएको अवस्था भएको र नयाँ भाइरसको प्रवेश भएमा यो जोखिम चाहिँ छिटै बढ्न सक्ने सेकेन्ड वेभ आउन सक्ने अवस्था भएको हुनाले यो स्वास्थ्य सुरक्षा मापदण्डको कडाइका साथ पालना गर्ने गराउने नियमित अनुगमन गर्ने र नगर्नेहरूलाई जुन मापदण्ड तोकेका छन् नगर्नेहरूलाई कारबाही गर्नलाई डिसिसिएमसीले सक्रियतापूर्वक काम गर्ने गरी निर्णय भएको छ।
Similarly, CCMC has also decided to forward a proposal to the Cabinet to quarantine passengers visiting Nepal from England and 22 other countries where the new strain of virus have emerged. The government had set a target of welcoming 2 million tourists in Nepal in 2020 after declaring the year as a Visit Nepal year. However, only 230,000 tourists visited Nepal during the period. The arrival of tourists declined by 80% in 2020 compared to the previous year. In 2019, a total of 1.19 million tourists had visited Nepal, while 1.17 million tourists had arrived in the country in 2018. Nepal could not meet the target set for the Visit Nepal year as the impact of coronavirus was felt across the globe. The arrival of tourists came to a complete halt last year due to the ban on international flights. According to the Department of Immigration, maximum number of tourists arrived from India in 2020, followed by Chinese, American and Thai tourists. The number of Indian tourists who visited Nepal during the review period was 25,320. Out of the total 230,000 tourists who visited Nepal in 2020, 183,130 arrived via air route, while the remaining 46,955 tourists arrived through land route. And now, the news from Economic Front. Senior Vice President of the Federation of Nepalese Chamber of Commerce and Industries has stated creating a suitable business environment in the country cannot be possible until the government recognizes the private sector as its business partner. Speaking at the General Assembly of Baglung Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Senior Vice President Thakal picked Malaysia as an example to illustrate the advantage of government-private sector partnership to improve state economy. Unless the state recognizes the private sector as its business partner, investment cannot be extended, Thakal added. For the attainment of prosperous Nepal and easy investment facilitation, the state should change its traditional perspective on private sector, Thakal opined. Senior Vice President Thakal informed it is not due to insufficient capital but the lack of business environment which has obstructed the investment in the country. We'll be taking a short break here at Janata Bulletin. Stay tuned for international and sports news. Welcome back, and now the international news. "100 people were killed in attacks on two villages in western Niger on Saturday. According to Reuters, Prime Minister Brigi Rafini confirmed the attacks and death toll during a national broadcast yesterday. The Prime Minister visited the areas which lie near the border with Mali. It was the deadliest attacks in the recent history of the country, ravaged by Islamist violence. Security sources earlier said that at least 70 civilians had been killed in simultaneous raids by suspected Islamist militants on the village. Niger has suffered repeated attacks by militants linked to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State near its border with Mali and Burkina Faso. Niger has also seen tit-for-tat killings between rival ethnic communities that have been stoked by the jihadist violence and competition for scarce resources. Saturday's attacks came on the same day that the Electoral Commission announced the result from the first round of the election to replace President Mahamadou Issoufou, who is stepping down after a decade in power. You are watching Janata Bulletin, and now the latest from the world of sports. Bayern Munich made a splendid comeback in the second half as they defeated Mainz 5-2 and secured its position at the top of Bundesliga table. The champions were actually struggling in the first half as they were 2-0 down as Jonathan Bergkamp and Alexander Hack both scored to shock the league leaders. However, Bayern made a comeback in the 50th minute after Joshua Kimmich struck to revive the game. Leroy Sané scored just 5 minutes after to draw the level. Substitute Nicolas Sule also scored before Robert Lewandowski netted twice, the first from the penalty spot. According to BBC, Bayern, who fell behind for the 8th straight game, replaced RB Leipzig 1-0 winners at Stuttgart on Saturday, at the top of the table, while Mainz remains second from the bottom. Bayern have extended their unbeaten run to 12 games and sit 2 points clear to second-placed RB Leipzig. We are at the end of Janata Bulletin, and the headlines once again. Election Commission sends separate letters to the warring sides of the ruling party, tells dissident leaders of NCP to furnish evidence for making claims. Nepali Congress announces a second phase of protest, clarifies that the party is not divided over the protest programs. Government fails to meet the target of welcoming 2 million tourists. Arrival of tourists declined by 80% in 2020. Niger village attack kills 100 Islamic militants suspected behind the attacks. And Bayern Munich retains its position at top Bundesliga table, defeat Mainz with 5 second-half goals. And that's all from the English News Desk for today. You can follow Janata Television and our programs on various social media platforms, including on our website janatasamachar.com. Keep watching Janata Television. Namaste.